In this lesson, I'd like to create a totals query where we will sum up values based on a date. If I take a look at my orders table, I can see that I have employees out here, and these are all involved inside of a data set that has 830 records. I do have an order date out here, and I also have a freight charge. So what I'd like to do is come out here and I'd like to group my employees together by a particular date, and then when I've grouped that date, I'd like to come out and sum up the freight charges on that particular date. I'm going to come out here and create a new query in Design View. I'll pull in my orders table, and then from here I'm going to go ahead and bring down my employee ID, and I'll run my query, and I see my 830 orders, employee name for each one. Come back to Design View. I'll go ahead and bring in my freight. I'll run my query, and I can see the freight charge for each one of my 830 orders along with the employee who's responsible for the order. I will come out here now, and I'm going to go ahead and bring in another field. But before I do that, I'd like to come out and turn on my totals tool, and I'd like to group by the employees, and instead of grouping by the freight, I'd like to come down here and sum the freight. So when I run this, I can see that I get my 9 employees, and I can see the freight that's been charged for every single one of my orders regardless of the date. But I'd like to add the order date field inside of here, and then have the user specify exactly what dates they'd like to go ahead and sum up the freight charge for each one of my employees. So back in Design View, what I'm going to do is come in here and I'll bring in the order date. And then under the order date, I'm going to come down here and I'm going to say something like, using a wildcard, I'll come out here and I'll say like, and then in square brackets, I'll say approximate the date. I'll finish that off with a square bracket. Spread that out a little. So now when I go ahead and run this, it's going to go ahead and ask me for a parameter. Since I put this in square brackets, it's asking what this is. It doesn't know what's inside of square brackets, so it's saying, what is this? And I can go ahead and, because I have the like operator, I can type in some sort of a wildcard out here as well. Now, I don't want to group by this. This is a conditional statement. That means it's only going to do the summation if an order date falls where this is applied. So I want to change this to a where clause. So I'm grouping on the employee, I'm summing on the freight where this condition applies. And now when I come out and run this, I can put in some sort of a date. So I could say, well, I only want to see those records where it was in July, regardless of the day in July and regardless of the year in July. I can do this with my wildcard characters because I included a like operator down here in front of my parameter brackets. So when I click OK, I come out here and I can see the sum of freight based on just the month of July, regardless of the day and regardless of the year. Let's try another one. I will come out to Design View, and then I'll go ahead and run this again. And this time I'll say something like, I don't care about the month, but the day has to be the 31st, and I don't care about the year. I'll click OK, and instead of getting my 9 employees, I have 2 employees missing because those 2 employees have not had any orders on the 31st of any month of any year. Try it one more time. I could come back, run this again, and I could say something like, only show me those records regardless of the month or the year, but I'd like to see these for 1998. And when I click OK, I get just the values for 1998.